In my early 20s, I was raped by a guy who I was dating, talking to, whatever. And for the longest time, for years, I was in denial about the situation because it didn't make sense to me. Um, we were seeing each other, so I didn't think that that was a possibility that somebody could, that you were intimate with or something like that, that they could actually violate you sexually. I didn't have anywhere to go to talk about it. And so I just kind of repressed it, put it out of my memory. Um, and not too long ago, I was in close proximity with him. I think I handled the situation very well. Now, I've been in his presence before because I know him. Like we know each other. We dealt with each other for a while. Um, and so I've been in his presence before, but it never bothered me. And I think it was because I had repressed the situation, I repressed the memory, I repressed the event. And I had convinced myself that it wasn't what I thought it was or what it felt like, honestly, because I didn't know what I thought it was. It wasn't what it felt like. And it wasn't until I had to, I was going to therapy and I had to kind of address my trauma that I realized that what happened to me was sexual assault. And during this healing journey, it has made me very vulnerable to my trauma and the things that I've dealt with in my past. And because of that, because of the vulnerability, I've become a lot more sensitive to situations and people that trigger me. And so the day that I was in his presence and had the reaction that I had a complete panic attack. While I was in the vicinity of him, I kept it together. I didn't have a reaction. Inside, I was boiling. Like, even now, talking about it makes me emotional, kind of makes me feel like I want to cry. And that's how I was feeling when I was around him. But I was just like, telling myself, I have to keep it in. I have to keep it in. The moment I got to a safe space, which was in the car with my oldest daughter, I let loose and I just started crying. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was having a panic attack. She didn't know what was going on. And normally I would rush to kind of explain the situation. But I knew in that moment I needed to make myself feel safe. And so I didn't, she was asking me what was wrong, but I couldn't talk in the moment. And so I centered myself. I gave myself time. I distanced myself from the responsibility of explaining what was going on with me. I took some deep breaths. I reminded myself in my head, you're safe. Nothing is happening to you. Right now, in this moment, you are perfectly fine. And by the time I was able to gather myself, I was able to explain to her what was going on. I was still emotional about it, of course. The realization of the situation and just being triggered so deeply without any warning was overwhelming for me. But I have to say that I'm very proud of how I was able to handle that situation. And had I not acquired the tools needed to be able to understand how to center myself, how to realign myself, I don't know what would have happened. I don't know how I would have handled that. I probably would have been a whole ass mess. I say all of that to say that triggers don't go away. What changes is our reaction to them. And even still, no matter how old the trauma is and no matter how far along you are in your healing process, there will come a time where you will be triggered and you're going to feel all of it. That is okay. You do not have a responsibility of making other people feel comfortable because you are uncomfortable. You don't have the responsibility of explaining to somebody in the moment why you're not at peace or why you are uneasy. Your only responsibility is to make sure that you take care of you first. Do what you need to do to center yourself and remind yourself that you are safe, you are okay, nothing is happening to you now. Triggers do not go away. Healing is forever. What you have control over is how you react. And what you allow to take over your psyche. Your healing journey is yours. It's unique. It's vulnerable. And it's important. Make sure that you're doing everything in your power to keep you safe, to keep you mentally aligned, and just know you're okay.